What do you think the Trinity teaching is? What do you think Christians believe about the Trinity?
Well, I mean, it's hard for me to understand from your guys' standpoint, the Trinity, but that there's three separate beings, right?
Well, that's what Mormonism teaches. There are three.
No, but isn't the Trinity, there's three different identities showing what God's roles are?
Well, that's what I was asking you. So three persons, three co-eternal, co-equal persons.
Right.
One being. One God by nature, eternally existent as three distinct persons.
Correct.
So when you said, I can show you from the scriptures that there's a distinction in person between the Father and the Son, I say, yay, amen. That's what we believe. That's what Christians have taught for 2,000 years. That's what we've always believed, that Jesus is not the Father is not the Son.
Right.
There's a distinction.
Right.
But only one God by nature.
Right, and I understand where you guys are coming from, that there's definitely passages, like the one he just shared in Isaiah, that, there's only one God, there's not one before or after, and so on.
And he doesn't know another.
And he doesn't know another, correct. And I get that. So, but how do you explain in John the great high priest prayer by Jesus Christ when he prays for his disciples to be one? And he goes into very, he says, me and the Father one. He goes into that very distinctly, and then he throws this in. He says that they may be one, even as thou art in me and thou, and that they may be one like us. Right.
Right.
So obviously he's not asking or praying that they merge into one person.
Because that's not what he's talking about. He's not talking about God's nature there. Like, let them be.
So what is he talking about? Why would he? Explain what? I mean,
unity.
Okay, so unity, right?
Yeah.
But would you not say? So yeah, we would agree on that, unity.
Yeah.
So how about if we go to the garden then?
Mm-hmm.
Christ is in the garden, and he. How do you explain this then? I mean, he prays to the Father that his will be done and not his. So how, if they're one being, how could they have different wills? How could they be separated in that?
It's a very good question. So it's an excellent question. So fundamentally, from Genesis to Revelation, the Bible teaches there is only one God, none before, none after. He doesn't know of any other gods. And
correct.
So when you look at the garden, you see Christ, who called himself God. He called himself I am, ego eimi, who said that he was equal with the Father, who said he was one with the Father, who did all the things that only God can do, like forgive sins and those sorts of things. You see him, and now I'm going to answer the question. My answer is essentially Philippians 2. The Apostle Paul talks about Christ, who was in very nature God, and he says, but he did not consider equality with God a thing to be grasped or held on to. He says, but he emptied himself and he humbled himself and became obedient even to death. So the answer is what you see in the garden is Christ, who is God and man, fully God and fully man, who is our representative, submitting himself to the will of the Father. And that's, I think, one of the distinctions between the Mormon view of salvation and the Christian view of salvation is we believe that Jesus is our full representative and we get his righteousness, his perfect representative life, credited to us through faith. It's not our righteousness we stand before God with.
And I understand that it's not our righteousness and that we are saved by grace and not works and those items. But I would disagree and find that there are multiple other sources that there's can be two interpretations. I understand your interpretation of the doctrine, but I believe biblically that there is a strong case for that Jesus Christ and God are different individuals.
Well, they are different persons, not different gods, though.
Okay.
So you said different. You said different interpretations. So let's try. You can just try one thing.
Sure.
Just on the point of interpretation, so we can try to clear away that dross for a moment. Okay. If somebody, Jesus says, you shall love your neighbor as you love yourself.
Correct.
Now, if you saw somebody beating on their neighbor, like punching him in the face and tearing him into pieces, and you say, hey, what are you doing? And they said, well, Jesus taught me to beat my neighbor. You would say, where do you get that? Well, it says it right there. You're like, no, it says love your neighbor as you love yourself. It's pretty clear cut.
Yeah, we could just reject it.
And they could say, well, that's my interpretation.
Sure.
My interpretation is beat 'em.
Correct.
And what would they be doing in that case? Would they just have another valid interpretation, or would they actually be
invalid interpretation?
Very good. Okay, so it's
so are you telling me that mine and millions of other people's interpretation of that is incorrect?
Of
and
what?
Of God, that God and Jesus Christ are separate individuals?
No, that's what we see. This is where we have a point of agreement and contact to a point. We also believe that Jesus and the Father are not the same person. John chapter 1 teaches that. In the beginning was the Word,
right,
and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, right?
Correct.
So we believe, and one of the things you're attacking right now is it sounds like modalism, where like it almost sounds like you think that Christians believe Jesus is the Father.
Well, hold on. Let's clear something up. So, I'm as Christian as anybody you know. Okay? So, let's clarify. You're a Christian. I'm a Christian.
Are you a Latter-day Saint?
Absolutely.
How are you a Christian then?
So, is a Christian somebody who believes in Jesus Christ? Is a Christian somebody who believes that Jesus Christ was born in Bethlehem? He was the son of Mary, the only begotten of the Father, the Son of God.
Is he Lucifer's brother?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Wait.
That's a different Christ.
Okay. That I would say that.